Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, namaste, dumelang, good morning, good afternoon, goeiemiddag. I was meant to speak about the UN report, and Dr. Busak has covered all of it. But even as I was preparing for this, it was heartbreaking, it was infuriating to read through that report. Ahmed will instead present a set of slides which cover some of the reports of the UN. And Ismail is right, the United Nations is somewhat of a toothless body. But we must not fall for the trap of undermining legitimate international institutions and organizations that document and record the witnesses of this genocide. Because this report is extremely comprehensive, as are others from Amnesty and Human Rights Watch. And the fact that the Israelis with the Americans are trying to delegitimize, isolate, and attack individuals like Francesca Albanese and Karim Khan, which I don't hold much for him because we did give him the Gaza docket in 2010 as the ICC and they did nothing about it. They continue as the Israeli regime and their agents in this country and elsewhere to attack individuals who dare speak out or who dare stand as witness against their crimes against humanity. We see them looking to delegitimize our efforts through the courts currently. As our sister organization in Cape Town, the Palestine Solidarity Campaign, is facing litigation, which will cost thousands of rands to defend themselves for taking up the boycott campaign against that famous brand that so many people like to wear in our community called K-Way. Mr. Kravitz of Cape Union Mart is trying to push back. But the fact that he's doing that tells us we're doing something right. We must build this campaign to boycott Cape Union Mart, and we need to organize for it. It's not just going to happen. We need to meet with the workers. We need to meet with shop stewards. We need to meet with communities. And we need to challenge them until Cape Union Mart shuts its doors once and for all, and all of those profits that are going to the IDF end. Friends, the report is detailed, and rather than me spending time going through 40 slides with you, I want to rather speak to one or two of the case studies from that report and other reports that we've been following. The first one you will know is the case of Hind Rajab, the 9-year-old kid that was killed with her family while on the phone asking for help. The paramedics shot and killed on their way to try and help, and only 24 hours later was the rescue team able to recover the bodies. There's a fantastically created documentary, very realistic, which is available and which we must screen in all communities. And yes, let us start putting pressure on our public broadcaster to start showing the truth. These documentaries need to be shown to all of our people. The case study of two young boys now, after this so-called ceasefire of November 2025, who were shot just 300 meters from the so-called yellow line, a self-imposed yellow line. Brothers 10 and 11 years old, gathering firewood for their father who was in a wheelchair And the evidence in the report is clear. The operator of their drone had clear visual evidence that they were children and they had not crossed the yellow line. They were deliberately targeted and killed. There's a case of a 15-year-old boy representing all of the child prisoners who documents his torture, his rape, his humiliation, his attack by police dogs in cells. He didn't make it. There's the case story recently of Natalie Aboudia, a Christian Palestinian and national football player for Palestine, detained in June 2026, at the height of our consuming a FIFA World Cup. Taken from a home in the early hours of the morning where she was resident as a student at the Birzeit University. And we know it was targeted. It was to send a message to the Palestinian Football Association because of the pressure being put on UEFA and FIFA to ban Israel from world sport. There's the case study of Dr. Ala Al-Najjar, the most heartbreaking case. Dr. Al-Najjar, a 35-year-old pediatrician, worked in Nasser Hospital on Friday, the 23rd of May. Husband returned from his shift in the hospital as a medical practitioner as well. It was his turn to take over the kids. She kissed her children and she went to work. While she was treating other people, an Israeli airstrike obliterated her home. She received on her shift 7 charred bodies of her own children from her own womb. This must move us. The only survivor, because her husband died a day later and she tended to him, was an 11-year-old son, Adam, who had lost his hand. The children's names, because we must not treat them as numbers instead. Yahya, 12, Rekan, 10, Ruslan, 7, Jubran, 8, Eve, 9, Rivan and Saidan were 6 months old, and Luqman was 2 years old, and Sidra. The Israelis saying it's civilian casualties and they will look at it's under review. Dr. Al-Najjar's words that really struck me. And we always, Muslim community, you say sabr, patience, and so forth. Be strong. She says, I am not strong. Everyone says I am. They call me a hero because I keep going. But I want the right not to be strong. Palestinians deserve the right not to sumud, to live freely, to raise their children. As the son said, when asked, what do you want? He said, I want a beautiful place. A beautiful place is a place where there are no bombs. In a beautiful place, the houses are not broken, and I go to school. Schools have desks and kids study their lessons, but then they go play in the courtyard and nobody dies. A beautiful place is where they operate on my arm and my arm works again. In a beautiful place, my mother is not sad. Adam, aged 11, was evacuated to Italy. The government did well. to support a number of patients that were evacuated. Let's hope that they can find the means to rebuild their lives. The last case study, or the second last, is just to mention there is a genocide in the West Bank. It's not restricted to Gaza. Right now, there are 3 families, which includes children, in the village of Kusra, who are totally surrounded by settlers who have cut off their electricity and their water. And when international solidarity activists tried to take food and water to them, so they blockaded their homes just to avoid the pogroms of these Israeli settlers, who are now being supported by the military, and all our activists who are on the ground. And I must mention that my sister Dudu is here. Dudu was a witness for the South African Council of Churches many times, who ensured that at any given time there were 2 living witnesses on the ground in occupied Palestine. So when people like Dudu go and try and give relief, they get attacked, arrested, and the goods get destroyed. These are not isolated incidents. It's a systematic and systemic problem. The boy with half his face and half his neck blown off survived the attack on his tent. Miraculously, his vital organs were spared, and he arrived in front of Dr. Tanya Haj Hassan. Please follow her. But he had lost his whole family. It is Dr. Tanya Haj Hassan who, after hearing him say, "I wish I had died. Everybody I love is in heaven. I don't want to be here anymore." She wrote the acronym WCNSF. WCNSF, wounded child, no surviving family. In all honesty, she goes on in her report, a humanitarian crisis is what you deal with when you have a hurricane, what you deal with when you have an earthquake. This is not a humanitarian crisis. I'm going to say it very clearly for your viewers to hear. This was on one of the UK TVs. This is genocide, when they were too afraid to use the word genocide. But where are we now? What is our goal as the solidarity? Our goal is to dismantle Zionism, to end it, to break it down with the Palestinian forces on the ground. It hasn't shifted. Apartheid could not be reformed in this country. It has to be and continues to be a challenge for us to dismantle apartheid here and in Palestine, particularly economic apartheid in our country. Dr. Busak is right. Ilan Pape and others have made it very clear in their analysis that Israel is in a desperate situation. Otherwise, why the repression? Why the surveillance? Why all this investment in Hasbara? 680 million euros spent last year to counter the movement for the rights of the Palestinian people and an end to Zionist, racist occupation of the indigenous people of that land's land. Their ancestral land. Increasingly, their TikTokers are saying it's their ancestral land, they were entitled to it. Their ancestors come from Europe and Poland and Russia. whereas Palestinians can trace their olive trees to 5,000 years ago. Whose ancestral land is it but the indigenous people of that land? We have a number of challenges coming up for us, particularly in the few months leading up to our local government elections. I want to say that I'm extremely glad and honored to work with a group of people in the PSA who remain steadfast on our core principles for human rights. So when March and March started its racist assault on foreign migrants, it was unquestionable what our position would be. We were going to help the victims of this racism and xenophobia. Unstrategic as it may be, in a country that is popularly targeting the very victims of economic deprivation. Instead of dealing with the struggles to change the systems in our country that have collapsed, our government institutions, from hospitals to schools, from legislatures to councils, that have become totally dysfunctional and ineffective. We scapegoated foreign people desperate for making a living. And the PSA, we took a firm position. Our humanity does not stop at the borders. Our humanity with the Palestinians is not because they are Muslim or because of their identity. Our solidarity with the Sudanese people is because they deserve a better life. And humanity for one is humanity for all. The rights of the children in our country are no different to the rights of children anywhere in the world. We are in a difficult situation. We're seeing fewer people coming forward to our events for a number of reasons. One is overload. There's just so much that we're seeing. Everything is documented, it's instant. We are seeing people feeling that if they repost something, I've done enough. We need to organize to survive. The warning is that what the Zionists are doing in Palestine can very easily happen here. Look at America and ICE and the repression and the loss of human rights and freedom. Do not take for granted that this surveillance state will come to us. And we have to work hard because the DAs and the Zillers and the Gayton McKenzies of this world are in cahoots with the Zionists. They are propped by the Zionists. And it doesn't mean that if they get power, that it's bad for the Palestinians. It's bad for us because they don't care about the underprivileged, the poor, the black, the working class. Their agenda is about accumulation and privatization and securing benefits for their own people. Why do you think AfriForum is now all of a sudden so vocal? We are naive to think that those who hold power and wealth and prestige and privilege were going to give it up so easily. It's not going to happen. We have to fight for it. And that means we have to go back to the trenches and we have to organize. We have to build a movement that is universal. Palestine is our pivot. We understand that. But we have to build a movement for our own freedom, for justice for all, for equality for all. This is what we have to do. Thank you, comrades, friends, and everyone that's here. Just one more thing is, we have a number of pledge forms on the tables. I want to say that we are challenging a major force. They don't have our strength. Our strength is the legitimacy we have from ordinary people and volunteers every day that step forward. Theirs is a paid-for Hasbara campaign, surveillance campaign to undermine us. But we have to get organized. We need proper structures that are funded. Your participation today, we know Firoza spoke a lot of our welfare work, but the fundraising we do today and some of the fundraising we're going to do going forward is to build a solid, structured solidarity movement in this country focused on BDS, focused on research, focused on challenging our government for its weaknesses, lobbying so that we can effectively bring some change. We cannot do it only by toy-toying and protesting. We have to become more organized and more sophisticated. Your support is most welcome.